It's La Copa America 2024 on Caught Offside.
Pulisic! It's spectacular! Vinicius! Oh, wonderful goal! Messi! Oh, he's done it! It had to be Messi!
Now here's Andrew and JJ.
Oh yes, Caught Offside from just outside of New York City and from an apartment in Brooklyn, New York. Andrew Gunling, JJ Devaney. What is up, brother? The U.S. are out of Copa America in the group stage. What a disaster. What a joke. I have so many thoughts. How are you?
I'm good, considering. But I believe the floor is yours.
Oh, JJ. We will get to all kinds of takes from the game about the stupid camera angle or the referee or whatever. But I cannot and will not bury the lead for me tonight.
Wow.
JJ, Panama and Canada are moving on to the knockout stage of Copa America. And the quote-unquote greatest generation of American soccer talent ever assembled is out in the group stage.
Mm-hmm.
This one broke me. And you know how I operate. Usually that's a term I reserve for my Tottenham fandom. But tonight it's for the U.S. I hang in there as long as I can until something eventually breaks me. And tonight, this one broke me. It's over. It's time. The red card for Weah, the refereeing tonight, it all matters, but ultimately, it's all window dressing to the overriding factor that we cannot hide from, which is we are not moving forward. Maybe it's not Greg Berhalter's fault entirely. You know me. You know I've resisted the idea that he's the sole reason for this team's flaws. And I believed that he did just enough to earn that second contract. But as I said, he did not do enough to see it all the way through to the 2026 World Cup. He should not be above evaluation, which I've said, after this major tournament. And this major tournament on home soil was an unmitigated failure. It may not be all his fault, but we owe it to soccer in this country to find that out. And we have 2 years to do so, which is enough time.
Mm-hmm.
We think these players are really effing good. We think they're capable of more. Maybe this manager has been holding them back. I don't definitively know that. I have my own questions about this greatest generation of American talent. But I do know that in the absence of any tangible signs of progress, we have to find out if the manager is the issue. And the only way to do that is to change managers. It's time. It's time. They've got to move on from this guy.
I agree with you. I think we're not seeing progress. I don't think we're seeing the best from this crop. I think our issues in the final third are not solvable under this manager. Jenny Taft spoke to Christian Pulisic and to Anthony Robinson, to what you would say now at this point in their careers, veteran European stars for this side. Mm-hmm. Christian Pulisic was his usual kind of downcast self after that game. And he said, a lot of energy, not enough quality. But the kicker was later when Jenny Taft asked, where do you go from here? Which is, I mean, the answer is to the beach for a few weeks and try and recoup before you go back into preseason.
Right. What did he say? We need to get some rest.
We need to get some rest. And then he said, we have to focus on finding an identity again. Again, that identity will not be found with Greg Berhalter in charge. Anthony Robinson said the same thing in terms of lack of quality in the final third. Mm-hmm. He did, he got a few punches in. Pulisic didn't want to land punches on the ref. He talked about, ref amateur hour, inhibited flow of our game. But ultimately, his conclusion is not good enough in the final third. And this side is just so, it finds creative flowing movements in the final third so hard. Mm-hmm. Chances so hard to create. And I think if we look at the talent there, it doesn't add up. I think it's gone stale and we need a new voice to reinvigorate this. And ultimately the manager has got plenty of time under his belt to show us development, but you cannot say we're further on than when we left the field in Qatar against the Netherlands. You can't.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
And is it all about the manager? No, I do think there's some players who, and I'm sure we'll talk about them, Weston McKennie in particular, who are not playing to their club potential or to what we've seen at their clubs.
At least not consistently enough.
Not consistently in the national team, not enough, and not taking games by the scruff of the neck. But I think there's more in that final third than Greg is getting out of them. And the hardest thing in the game is scoring goals, and he can't crack this. So someone else should be given a shot.
Yeah.
It really comes down to that for me.
Yeah. We completely agree. I know this show is probably more fun for people when we argue and are at each other, but like, that's it. Like, there's nothing else. That's
No.
it. And I'm so tired of seeing, decent build-up play that ends in utter nothingness.
Yeah.
I mean, Anthony Robbins, everyone said the final third, like,
you know, the way you talk about Manchester City's signature move, bink, bink, bomp, end line, cutback, goal.
Yeah.
Ours is switch of play, ball inside, down the line, Robinson running, cross, goalkeeper falls on it. Or it's cleared.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't have enough invention there, or we're not using the invention of the players we have to its fullest extent.
Or the players are also not as good as we think they are.
That
and again, we have to find out. But like, the coach, whatever new ideas or inventiveness there needs to be, they're not getting that right now. And so the coach, like, look, I just said it. Like, I can't be more clear. The coach needs to be moved on. Somebody needs to be brought in here who can bring new ideas, because we have 2 years until we host a World Cup, and that is enough time to instill a new way of playing, to instill new ideas, all that stuff. It's enough time. It's not a panic move. Like, it's fine. It would be a rational move where they could do it. But like, when we're talking about the final third, the coach doesn't misplace the pass. Like, the coach doesn't lack the first touch that we see a lot of times with these guys in the box. Like, the coach needs to provide ideas and help with build-up play. And some of the build-up play is good. He does, like, this team is oftentimes in position when they get into the final third, but then stuff just goes awry. Like you said, a pass into the box that's too close to the keeper that the keeper cuts out. Yeah. Like, the players, like, I'm not going to sit here and, Berhalter should go. I can't, like, that's it. That's the worst thing I can say about him. Like, he should be fired. Like, but like, I will not be the voice that absolves the players and says that this is all on the coach. These players are not living up to the billing that they've been given.
100%.
We keep calling them the greatest generation of American talent we've ever seen. Are you sure? Like, when does that present itself? Like, they're excellent in moments. Certain players, I think Pulisic actually had a really good 3 games. It's not, I don't look at him and say he's our best player and he needs to take responsibility. No, he did his job. I thought Christian Pulisic had a good tournament, but it's just from this group in general, there's just not enough consistency. And if it's supposedly the greatest generation of American talent we've ever seen, like, how does that manifest itself? When are we going to see that? That's not just the coach. These players, I still have questions about just how great this group is.
Yeah, look, I'll take 2 moves tonight that kind of sum it up for me. In the 77th minute, there's a turnover right in front of the Uruguayan back 4. And they give up the ball, and Pulisic gets on it. He drives forward, and he just plays an awful pass, gives the ball immediately straight away back to the Uruguayans from a very advantageous situation to get in and create an opportunity on goal. That's not down to the manager. Pulisic's got to be better there. And my favorite moment of the night, towards the end of the first half, right at the end of the first half, you have Scally picking out this pass into Pepe, who chests it down. And then this gorgeous sliced volley from Reina right out to Anthony Robinson.
Yeah.
Where does that cross go? Straight to Uruguayan defender and cleared. Nothing sums us up more than that move right there. Hey, this is good. That's pretty good. Oh. Yeah. That's it. And ultimately, like, those patterns of play, something has to be done to kickstart this, to change this, and a new voice is needed. And you can say, well, you can argue this, that, well, Berhalter didn't do anything in these years that he's been involved. Really, what happened was the 2017, what should have been the 2018 World Cup side, aged out. Ultimately, were phased out by a combination of Dave Sarachan their own careers and Greg Berhalter, and a new era came in that just naturally took over. And then you have to ask, what has Berhalter done with this side? Well, I think he's got them into a position where the fullbacks are now creative attacking ball carrying forces. We've got a midfield that was able to do a job on an England side at the World Cup, and an attack that's very much question marks. But we need something different now. We need a new voice. Things can go stale. And to your point about the overrated thing with US players, that's a factor too as well. You know, Reina does not play for any club regularly. Yunus Musa's transfer to Serie A has not gone great. He only plays, 30% of the minutes. It's not enough. Josh Sargent, as good as we like him and as good as he is, he's with a top half championship team, but a team that pushes for playoffs but aren't in the Premier League. Haji Wright is with Coventry City, who went on a nice run, but, you know, we're
tier.
Dest. One of our most important players, we think, is basically being handed around the European leagues because nobody really wants to fully commit to this guy because they have question marks about him. Anthony Robinson is a fine player, moving into a kind of I would say, a cult hero status at Fulham. Well liked. Tim Ream, very good professional footballer who's been excellent. He's moving towards the end. Chris Richards, proving himself. Matt Turner can't play. Pulisic had to go to Italy to get things together, and I think has steadied himself. And Balogun, struggling in League One right now after a couple of breakout seasons. So, you know, we do love to talk about our players in the top five, but when you dig deeper into it, maybe they're not exactly the top tier, the creme de la creme. However, I would say this. There, to me, is more than enough to be better than we are and to be more effective than we are. And that's why we need to do something before 2026.
Yeah. When you're this incapable of scoring goals against good opposition, it's an everyone problem. We've kind of, as a fan base, and probably as media in this country in general, we've kind of all put ourselves in a box. You're either with Greg or against Greg. You're with these players or against these players. Like, I mean, just look at all the games where this team can't score. That's everyone. Like, it's the coach, it's the players, it's all of them. Like, I saw Adam Crafton, who's a journalist who I've got a lot of time for. I think he's really good, and he's not like, he doesn't necessarily, he's kind of outside a little bit of the U.S. soccer.
He's just moved here.
Bubble. Like, he doesn't necessarily cover this team the way like a Jeff Carlisle or Doug McIntyre. He's familiar, but he tweeted after this game, mitigation and ref decision, injury to Balogun, and Weah absence. But reality tonight is USMNT rarely look to have the wit or class to win this game. There is a quality deficit in both their first 11 and the depth below it, but also fair to question if GB, Greg Berhalter, maximizes what is available. Bingo.
Bingo. Yeah.
It's all of it. Now, what we always say, like, you can't get rid of all the players. And so to find out whether or not these players do have it in them, the manager is going to have to go. He just does. Like, this was an unbelievable failure. And look, I'm on an email chain with some friends, and one of my buddies who's been just railing on Berhalter since the day he was hired. You know, he's sending the email tonight. We got to get Pep. I mean, like, I'm not doing that tonight. I'm not, like, at some point we'll have the conversation about who should be the next manager. By the way, on our pod earlier today, we read the Eric Winalda tweet that said Berhalter's not going anywhere. So, like, this may be a total act in futility of us even discussing who the replacement candidates are.
I think the reactions tonight and the game tonight and the previous game in particular I do think US soccer lacked. I do too. 2026 is the jewel in the crown on the horizon, and they have time to change it, and I think they will. Jeff Carlisle, full-time US men's national team 0, Uruguay 1. The US is out of the Copa America, an utter disappointment, one that should cost Greg Berhalter his job. For all the US is huffing and puffing, a term I've been using about this site for a long time. A fair result. Uruguay just ground down the US into dust with a US XG of 0.29 for the game.
It's unbelievable. It was
Not gonna
point
just
0.01 at halftime. And we go to the half and I'm getting texts and I was thinking it too. Like I'm watching the coverage on TV and people are like, well, good half. The US look good. And it's like, is this the bar now? They had a point 0.01 XG at home in a must-win game. And we're sitting here at halftime complimenting them. Like, I mean, this can't continue.
no,
Like, it just cannot continue.
it can't continue. And I think the other side to it is as well that people's reactions were, well, we're battling with them. And I honestly think the way Bielsa plays suited the US in the sense that they're going to commit forward. You're going to be able to at times break through the press and find gaps and spaces. They're also some of the hardest bastards ever put on God's green earth. And they're going to fly into tackles. And our guys are game. Like, they are game. But we got ground down by that. They are relentless in their tackling, in their pressing. I know they laid off the pressing a little bit in the second half because they were like, all right, okay, we don't actually need to win this game. But in terms of like their physicality, it was nice to see the US go toe to toe, win some balls, do those things. But like you said, that's only the base. That's only the base. It used to be like managers in England who had this thing. You earn the right to play football, meaning you go out in the field right now, you don't have a right to pass it. You have a obligation, first of all, to win the physical battle, to dominate your opponent physically and then play your football. And sometimes that's actually true in soccer. Mm-hmm. You're like, we can't do anything until we win a tackle here, get our foot on the ball and dominate them. It's a physical confrontation. And so I understand why it was nice to see the US winning tackles, flying in, although, I mean, you will get to the ref, I'm sure. Some bizarre stuff like a 50-50 between Adams and a Uruguayan player where the Uruguayan player stands on him and Adams gets called for the foul and gets a yellow card. Bonkers stuff. I'm not even sure about the Chris Richards foul where he played advantage as he brandished the yellow card.
Never seen anything.
Never seen it in my life. New rules for everyone.
But the stuff you're saying though is so true about, like, you know, and look, the players have to say certain things afterwards. You know, Matt Turner, Jenny Taft did her job. She did a good job. She asked Matt Turner straight out, is there anything you want to say to either support or express frustration with this manager? And Turner did not take that bait. Bait's the wrong word because it's a legitimate and good question that she asked.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make it sound like she was baiting him
I know.
and doing so. That's not what I mean. But Turner basically said, you know, I hope people, like, I think we're going in the right direction and I hope people see that we fight hard. And like, he has to say that, but like, this is 2024 Uruguay. They're good. They're not 2010 Spain.
No.
Like, that's not, again, I keep using this term because it's the term that keeps getting thrown around so recklessly that this is the greatest generation of US soccer talent we've ever seen. Well, fighting hard against a good Uruguay team ain't enough. That's just not. And
I'm totally on board with you there. By the way, Greg Berhalter was asked, is he the man to lead the team forward in 2026? And he said yes.
Of course of course I'll say that. He has to be asked. Like, this is like, we were going to sit here and do a podcast about the game. We'll talk about stuff in the game, but like, this is it. This is the show. Like, this is what American soccer fans care about and want to talk about right now, is the future of this program. And it begins and ends with that guy. And I think tonight, like I said, tonight broke me. I'm seeing Panama celebrate. I'm seeing Canada celebrate the other night with Jesse Marsh belting out "Oh Canada." And I see the U.S. on home soil 2 years out from a World Cup with the best American soccer players we've ever seen. I see them going home because they couldn't beat Panama. You know, and if it had come down to goal difference, we're looking at that because they can't score more than 2 against Bolivia.
Yeah.
This U.S. team, Pulisic, Reina, you know, Weah that night, McKinney, like Anthony Robinson, Ream, Premier League players, Serie A players, Champions League players, can't score more than 2 against Bolivia. A must-win game against Uruguay, a 0.29 XG. This is silliness. And tonight, I think, has to be the slap in the face to the decision makers. And I think people like me, people will say I'm part of the oh, you weren't calling for him sooner. We don't want you now. All right, fine. I mean, I will forever believe that my takes and thoughts on this manager have been rational all throughout. And I think that he needed to be evaluated after this tournament because 2 years is a long enough amount of time for a new manager to come in and change the way things are going.
And I do think in our defense, because we're strong on certain topics, people expect us to be absolutely brutal on managers. And we never really have been.
Well, I'm a tend to be a players guy.
Yeah, you are. And I'm harder on managers than you are, but even still, I didn't see the point in. Look, we discussed ad nauseum about the way the manager was appointed. It was from an optics standpoint. We can't prove that
we called it a rigged process.
Yeah, exactly. We did, but we obviously can't prove that. But I mean, Jesus, the guy who hired him was his brother, or was involved in the hiring process was his brother. That was never going to wash for people who view MLS askance. His coaching record was how would you put it, Andrew? Fine, but where were the trophies? Is the question.
Sure.
I mean, there's a manager now sitting in situ in Columbus, and I'd be shocked if US Soccer aren't putting the feelers out to him, considering the quick impact he's had there and the style of play. Mm. Now, would another manager from MLS, even if it is Wilfried Nancy, would that be acceptable to a certain cohort of US Soccer fans? I don't think so. But he has the CV. He had a deep run in CONCACAF Champions League. He has already got a MLS Cup trophy, playing a different style of soccer than we're used to seeing. All I'm saying is Greg Berhalter was off to a loser, and we didn't crucify him immediately because, we wanted to get some tournament plays. I would say if I had a criticism on myself, I allowed Nations League and Gold Cups, Nations League wins in particular, the drama of them, the joy of the night, because that's, as we always say, that's not the way joy works.
But some of them weren't dramatic. That's the thing.
Some of them were
Mexico. We've spent our entire lives viewing Mexico as this hurdle we have to get over. We have to be dominant against Mexico. That's what matters. And in those Nations League games, we were some of them. The Jamaica one, we can talk about that. And I don't think our heads were turned. I think we called that out and said this was very lucky.
Yeah.
A weird deflected goal in the 96th minute to send this to extra time. We called stuff like that out, but whatever the benchmarks were that Berhalter needed to hit, I do think he was hitting them.
I think
the style of play was a question all along, but
I think
I'm a players guy and I'm kind of a results guy, especially in international soccer where managers just don't have the amount of time with these players to really work with them in a way that's going to, look at what we're doing, talking about, look at the Euros every day. England and France, these are the two best teams in the world. They can't string 5 passes together.
Yeah.
International play is weird.
We never would have anyone that, right now, we have no one who's going to pop up with a bicycle off a long throw in. Just don't have it. We saw Weston McKennie throwing one into the box, and I was like, could this be our Bellingham moment?
Where's Gahey to flick one on?
Yeah. Was it Gahey or no?
Yeah, Mark Gahey flicked it on, and then
it was. All right.
Biked it home.
Yeah. It wasn't even a forward. It was a center back.
No.
Get it launched. But yeah, we
the thing, if we're gonna be self-critical,
can I finish my self-critical?
Yeah.
Quickly, just let me flagellate. I did get caught up in the hype of overturning Mexico as the top dog in CONCACAF. I did get that. That to me gave me an adrenaline rush. And now we see the deep crisis Mexican football is in, and we see that as good as those results were for us, they did not foreshadow better football from us in terms of finishing and scoring goals. We find it so hard to score and to create really good opportunities. It's the problem.
I suppose my self-flagellation, it's interesting what this podcast has turned into. It's like group therapy, like a self-help.
Yeah.
Mine would be, I don't think it would have changed my stance after the World Cup if I had maybe felt a little differently on this issue, but I do think I probably gave too much credence to these players all like him and want him back. Like, I don't know. Again, I probably still would have said I'm fine with him returning because he's done all the things that have been asked of him. He's won trophies. He got out of the group stage. We didn't beat England, but we kind of outplayed them. Like, he did all that stuff. So I think I still would have said he deserves to see this through, and then we'll reevaluate, 2 years out. But I do think the whole chorus, from Pulisic, Weah, Matt Turner, all these guys who were kind of leaders on this team that wanted this manager back.
Yeah.
Carly Lloyd had a pretty strong quote tonight in the post game that was very interesting to me. She said, talking about the women's team, we won championships and we hated our coaches. I question if they're too comfortable in that locker room. I think now we can look at that and say, maybe there's something to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's possible.
An atmosphere, we talk often about atmospheres which have a little bit of tension in them, often producing great results in sports. Now,
I don't think it's a requirement to dislike your coach, but it's also not required to like them.
Well, he did his very best to make sure he was disliked by one key player. Like he honestly should. Like the more I think about it, the more I felt right about. I don't care what the players would say. The way he acted after Qatar going and speaking to that business was basically still technically under contract by US Soccer. To go talk about in-house things with outsiders, absolutely unacceptable. Unacceptable. Should have gone then. That was the opportunity to do it, and they would have had grounds. He would have been, never mind the over 30 years ago infraction with his then girlfriend. Never mind that stuff. I'm not justifying it, but never mind any of that. The opportunity. First of all, the opportunity was there to look at how this thing was developing and to make a call on the World Cup, and it would have been a tough call, but it would have been a necessary call to say this isn't going to get better. But that was, to me, that was a red line in the sand with active locker rooms. The book that comes out a few years later, whether it's Fergie or Roy Keane, I mean, those books come out maybe 10, 12, 15 years later. I don't like them. I love reading them, but I don't like them. Right. But to do it while that locker room is still active and it's still one that you want to return to and manage in, totally unacceptable. Like
I will never blame him for respecting Chatham House rule, and it is not his fault that others do not have that same level of respect.
David O'Leary torpedoed his football management career. It was never right after he released the book Leeds United on Trial, as he was still manager of Leeds United, talking about two players who were actually in trials, criminal proceedings against his team, and he talked about inside the locker room stuff and crazy, absolutely crazy. It's absolutely verboten, and that's the time I would have got rid of him. Tonight he was hapless, really. You're not going to go from the Panama result going into this game, needing a win against a side as aggressive and as well drilled as Uruguay, and suddenly the attack is going to click. We were looking for a set piece. By the way, holistic set pieces look better, but even still, we don't get enough.
All of them.
We don't get enough from set pieces at all. You were looking for a set piece. You were looking for a break, a little bit of fortune, because it's too late to overhaul an attack, and the writing's on the wall.
Yeah,
I think US Soccer should move now. Yeah, right now.
I just want to know. The only way we'll know if these players are good enough is if another manager comes in, because we kind of know what this team is at this point. It's long enough where we know what this team is with this manager. If they're capable of more, the only way that we'll ever find out is if they get another manager in there. And there's a lot at stake because there's a World Cup here in 2 years. And this is enough time. I firmly believe that. This is enough time for someone. Honestly, it might be enough time for whoever comes in next to fail and somebody else then come in for the final year. Like there might be enough time for that. Even.
We've seen teams act in that fashion and be, proactive with replacing managers.
I'd be all for bringing in a manager only to fire him a month out from the World Cup so we can really utilize that new manager bounce.
Yeah.
I think that's what the strategy should be.
Right before the eve of the group stage game. Out. We want that bounce going into the group stage game.
They should strategically, the next hire should be someone that the players will A, hate, and B, whose style will be a disaster. But they should keep him all the way right up until the end, so the players just explode with joy at the perfect moment when that World Cup is beginning.
Oh,
I'll tell you what. We got the big thoughts out of the way. There are some thoughts on the weirdness of tonight that do bear mentioning that we should talk about.
utterly weird,
So
bizarre.
it could only happen in this hemisphere. We'll go ahead. We'll take a break, and we'll come back with some more reaction to what is honestly a pretty devastating night for American soccer fans and American sports fans too. I'll talk about that next. A little more on that as well. Still more caught offside. Don't go anywhere. Oh, back now. And, just a disappointing in this like soccer summer that has been and will continue to be a lot of fun. This will not stop me from loving the Euros. It will prevent me from enjoying the rest of Copa America. I'll watch it because I have a job to do, but
Don't say it like that.
but it will prevent me from taking a lot of at least the quarterfinals.
Colombia, Brazil tomorrow night. If that doesn't get your juices flowing again, if that doesn't put lead back in your
It's
pencil,
too soon. It's too soon.
It's too soon.
Yeah, not yet. The quarterfinals, once they come around, we'll see. By the way, I should say, I think it's important for me to mention this. When we did our Copa America preview, one of the questions was, how will we be handling our rooting when our CONCACAF brethren are in action? And I was a little bit undecided. We're going up against CONMEBOL. We're looking for some respect here in this region. Maybe it's in the best interest for some of these teams to do well. JJ, the heart wants what it wants. And the second I saw those other CONCACAF teams on the field, I hated their effing guts. I just did. I was rooting so hard for Ecuador to beat Mexico the other night.
I kind of felt that was the way it was going to go for you, but you were trying to be diplomatic.
Yeah. But it was, I mean, I'll never ask that question again. Like this is how I felt. And by the way, whenever Canada, there's players on Canada that I love, legitimately players I really, really enjoy.
You love Alphonso
Davies, Jonathan David, like Buchanan, Syracuse guy. Like they have players I really enjoy. I hope they get absolutely smashed to bits, to smithereens.
Atta boy, that's my boy.
Yeah. I can't, if we're going down, I want everyone else to come down with us. No one can enjoy this if we can't. That's how I feel.
I respect that. I respect that so much. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, before break, I mentioned how this was not just a bad night for soccer fans in this country, but sports fans. You can sometimes, Twitter is a weird place.
Especially since Elon took over, let's be honest.
But it was weird long before that. Like for what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
But I will say there are moments in soccer where it is actually a good gauge of like where the country is at with this sport or with a specific game, I guess I should say. I know this country well enough at this point to know when the World Cup is played, everyone's in, everyone's watching, but I don't know for these other tournaments that are going on. Is this just like the soccer cult that's into this, or like, are people actually taking note? This was a game tonight. Gauging from, I follow, me, I'm a well-rounded sports fan. I follow everyone in every sport. This was one of those nights where this is what people were tweeting about.
Wow.
I unequivocally, Bob Wischusen, like Jets announcer and hockey announcer, like NBA guys that I follow. Like
Peter Rosenberg.
They had me on the Michael K show today, actually, to preview the game. That's a gauge.
Yeah. And Michael.
Well, he wasn't on. It was Peter and Ty.
Oh, because Michael despises soccer with the fire of a million suns.
Yeah, that wouldn't have happened. But like this was tonight, I was on Twitter, kind of during the game, before the game, and I was like, oh, the country is up for this. Like people are And by the way, the TV ratings for the US Bolivia match were the highest outside of a World Cup in Fox's history for soccer. US Bolivia in a Copa America first match group stage game.
I see a point slowly but surely.
I'm not making any point. I'm just saying tonight, like the country was up for this.
And you're worried about what the country will think after that.
Oh, no, I think I don't know about that. I will say it's a blown opportunity for US soccer to continue that momentum and to keep people in. But like I don't know that it has like long lasting effects of like somebody tuning in tonight being, I told you I'm out. Like, no, I think the next big tournament, people are in. Like when you give them a game and a reason to care, people jump on board. And tonight I felt that. I really felt that with this game. Unfortunately, it was a dud. It was a total dud of a performance. And yeah, uh, people were the people who parachuted in for this one, JJ. They got the full weirdness, CONCACAF, and
Spectrum.
let's not leave out CONMEBOL. I guess they got the Western Hemisphere weirdness um, on lock tonight. Like it was uh, right when you turn, like the game starts, and I'm immediately it's just up. Here we go, and of course the camera angle is insane. Can anything just ever be normal here? Like obviously, in one of the biggest non-World Cup games that the U.S. have played in God knows how long, of course the camera would be completely effed up for it. Like who's, by the way, and that's a decision that was made. Chris Whittingham, I mean, we've seen other games played at Arrowhead, but Chris Whittingham smartly reminded us that just like a month ago, somewhat controversially, Inter Miami and Sporting Kansas City moved their game to Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah.
And Chris Whittingham, I think, was on the call for it. And he tweeted a perfectly normal screenshot of what the camera angle was that night. And it was a normal camera that looked normal. Someone, they John Strong and Stu Holden's phones must have been blowing up with like friends and family being like, guys, what is, you have to acknowledge this. This is crazy what we're watching on TV right now. Please tell us this is not your fault.
Stu Holden's. Don't worry, this isn't a stadium for ants.
Right. But like they pointed out clearly and quickly, this is a CONMEBOL world feed. Sorry, everyone. Don't know what to tell you.
Can I ask you?
But like who
how do Fox have the rights and agree to that? Surely fucking Fox have some power in this regard.
I would hope, but like the point is that like there is a normal camera angle for soccer in that stadium, but somebody made a decision and said, no. This one's better. And like eventually, I don't know what happened in the
they got
minute.
almost the right angle, I think, but not 100%. It was still a little bit. It was as if you know when you were messing with the views on FIFA, not probably 10 years ago, and you're like, oh no. When you hit the space view, the really high one, you're like, oh no. But your friend who's an absolute nerd, and I saw some of you on Twitter tonight as well saying, well, actually, I enjoyed being able to see the passes between the lines and the spaces and the movement better. Shut up.
Yeah, stop.
Shut up.
No, it was weird. It was not necessary. Ugh. It's not what anyone wanted. I don't know. I need like a weird, like sometimes you get documentaries about things that are important, but sometimes you get them about stuff that's just like hilarious and funny. I want to know what went on behind the scenes in the 38th minute when suddenly they cut back to a normal camera. Did some like CONMEBOL executive get punched out in like a control room somewhere and like Fox just moved in and we're like, all right, we're taking over. Enough.
A sweaty man, panicking producer with a headset named Jorge burst into the office and just said, guys, that idea we had at lunchtime, we gotta roll back. We gotta change. And the two guys he's talking to are absolutely baked, stoned out of their minds.
I just want to know like the decision-making process.
That's the only way. You have to be high, quite literally, to think that that's a good idea.
But didn't Fox have input? Like I know CONMEBOL decides the feed, but like surely somebody from Fox could have said, guys, this is not where we put the cameras.
Can I talk about the pitch?
Yeah, sure.
Oh my God. So I saw, and I'm not trying to correct her. I'm just saying, because I think it was just a phraseology mistake. Lizzie Bescherano from ESPN, she tweeted how they laid grass down on June 21st for this field on top of artificial surface. It's not an artificial surface at Arrowhead. It's that kind of tundra, really, really short NFL grass. So I don't know if it's better to put rolls of grass on top of that. But what you got was this. We saw Darwin Núñez like get his foot lodged in a seam and fall over quite comically. Now, I hear you say, if anyone's going to fall over his own feet, it's our Darwin. But it did look like the field wasn't put together. Players were having a little bit of trouble with it. But you could also see where it was heavily watered. So you could see the patches where the sprinklers were placed. And that first, what would you say, 35, for that first half in general was so frantic. So you've got this mix of a team that's a high press, complete like Bielsa ball, and then you've got a team that's desperate to try and make an impression. And what you got was absolute carnage and violence. Like you got like it was, what did I tweet? This game was way too fast for this field and way too physical for this referee. And I honestly thought, I know we don't know. Have we found out the what the status is of
Maxi Araujo's condition.
Araujo's condition? I don't know.
I don't know.
I thought. Side note: I thought Oliveira, when he came on, did brilliantly. I thought he was actually man of the match. I thought he was excellent.
I have a thought on that.
But okay, we'll hold that for a sec. But
Sure.
yeah, the field conditions were just added to the insanity. I've never seen such, for most of the game, except when Uruguay tried to tone it down a bit in the second half. I've never seen such an absolutely frantic game. And the second thing I would say is about the referee.
Mm-hmm.
I had no clue what he was going to call on any given tackle. No idea. The idea that it was as late as it was for Darwin Núñez to get the first yellow card for Uruguay was absolute insanity to me. Just lunacy. And that was before half time. So it was, I don't know what it was, like the 47th minute, where he just kicked Scally. And Scally ultimately would fall on his shield in the second half from his wounds, because Núñez absolutely done him like with just a crazy. Referee gives a yellow. I had no confidence that yellow was coming. And another thing, the dimensions of the field, the sideline where Greg Berhalter was and the US team, and presumably the Uruguayans as well. The gap between the solid side of the stadium, the solid ground floor, the cement, and the field was too narrow.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when Atlanta started out in Bobby Dodd, and you couldn't see one of the sidelines. Not good enough, guys. Simply not good enough.
And that's with the field not as like, that was with a 70-yard width, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 75 for the World Cup. Somehow they're going to do that. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. You're
really,
right.
just so many areas of weirdness. And I tweeted out, I thought the ref had won a competition to be a referee for a day. Lunacy.
Well, if I found out that was
lunacy.
true, then I'd say, you know what? Actually, he did all right then. If that was the case,
I guess you're right. What about the VAR, Andrew?
So, well, yeah. Let me.
Or
I mean, look.
Have you something else? You've clearly got something.
Well,
else
no. I mean, the stuff you said there is like, I definitely, the referee stuff was crazy. You know, like the Nandez not getting a yellow for his, like, Anthony Robinson turns him and is kind of away in a dangerous spot, and like Nandez just NFL style tackles him, and I'm like, so not a yellow. Like, so this is how games devolve. Like when you're going to allow stuff like that to go in a game that is always going to be really intense. I mean, a must-win game for one of these teams. CONMEBOL, CONCACAF opposition, like it was always going to be, even under the best of circumstances, really intense. But when you're allowing stuff like that to happen without cards, then yeah, you reap what you sow. I mean, for me, the moment of just like, okay, what in the actual hell is going on was the Chris Richards getting the yellow and allowing Uruguay to take a quick restart as he's showing Richards the yellow. Thank God for Tim Ream. That was an incredible play that Ream made to have the awareness to get back and sprint back and break that play up. But that was just insanity. You know, the referee stuff, nullifying the advantage on the handball when Pulisic is away down the right side. Just like, this was all night. This stuff was...
He didn't shake with, there's footage. He refused to shake hands. The assistant, one of the linesmen, shook hands with Pulisic. Pulisic obviously had been dogging him all game, and the ref was like, I'm not shaking your hand.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't shake his hand afterwards.
But Pulisic exploded in the 88th minute. Like it finally all just, he knew they were going to lose. His frustration he probably said horrible things to him for all we know. A couple things on the goal for Uruguay. I mean, first off, the cruelty of it occurring immediately after Bolivia tied things up against Panama is just like,
Oh
you
my
can't make this
God.
stuff up. You just can't.
Your text to me.
What did I say? I don't even remember.
Um,
I'm sure it was dark and sad.
so you text me Bolivia eyes. I said, "Oh boy, we're going to default our way to a quarterfinal."
Hmm.
Then I wrote Varchek, lol. You wrote
I
good
switched
go-
over. I was watching because I wanted to see the VAR
ah.
review.
You wrote good goal. And then I wrote, we really might jam our way through this.
Mhm.
And then you wrote after the goal went in, F me in effing ass. I wrote for F's sake, which I actually originally I edited because you're the gentle flower, because I had written for C's sake.
Oh, thank you.
And then I wrote, what, Dr. Joe, you con man. And you wrote, nothing will ever be normal here. It's over.
It's just how it is. The Uruguay goal. So a
Ah.
couple elements of it. Um, I'm gonna just be a jerk now. Can I? Like, I think I'm allowed every once in a
You've
while.
earned the right.
I think if I just want to be a complete prick sometimes, like I'm gonna be that. You know, I have like a weird relationship with MLS. You know, I enjoy it and I support it. I also acknowledge that it's not the peak of the sport. I'm kind of comfortable with what it is. Um,
You don't want it to be.
no, I desperately, I would love for it to be.
Whatever it is, you're okay with it. Yeah.
But like I understand what MLS is, and it kind of bothers me sometimes when you or others just kind of like tear into it, and like we understand, like, but the thing, like, I just found it kind of funny tonight that American fans were so effing arrogant about our own domestic league, and like we see one player on our bench who is an MLS player, and we just think, oh, what a joke. We're not serious in this country. Meanwhile, an MLS player pops up off Uruguay's bench and scores the effing goal.
Played well. Played
I
very
mean,
well.
like, so who, like, can we?
Skinned Scally. Gave Scally a roasting at one
Yes.
point in the first half. And Scally plays in the Bundesliga, I believe.
Oh, wow. An MLS player burnt a European player? I've been told that this is impossible. And the mere thought of that would get you shunned from the soccer community in this country.
Hmm?
I mean, can we stop? Can we? I understand we want guys who are playing in Europe because they tend to be the better players, but can we
Yeah.
tone it down a little bit with just like the constant arrogance about MLS talent in this country? Can we, like, a little bit? They're
I
good enough
didn't
for Uruguay to pop up and beat us.
I didn't
That's
think
the.
I'm surprised. I thought you were going in a different direction with this. I thought you were going to crush Matt Turner, because I'm gonna
I wasn't going to.
parry
The
that,
other,
parry that anywhere else.
yeah,
Tip that round the post. Jesus Christ.
yeah, not good enough from him on that. I would agree. I would agree with that. Um, Now I'm going to be a prick about VAR, if you'll allow it. um, because, like, I don't know, thought it was pretty interesting how many people were furious with the call there. A lot of anti-VAR people, really mad. I don't know. I thought this is what you wanted. If it's close, let it stand. Nothing molecular. If it's a toenail, nah, that's okay. That's not the point of the rule. Really?
I feel
Not what I was
attacked.
seeing tonight. Seemed
attacked.
like people really wanted molecular VAR.
Hmm.
People want it. It's not cool to want it. It's more fun to rip on it. But ultimately, it's what you all want. I saw every tweet tonight. Oh, that line, that's not right. That's who's even making that line. That's not official. It's not Stu Holden. It's not perpendicular with the field. This is crazy. I don't know. It seems like people have been asking for this.
Wow.
No, semi-automated VAR, toenail offside. This isn't what we want. This is too molecular. No, it is exactly what you want. It's exactly what you want. And tonight, it shined a light on all of you. You all want it. You've just been too cowardly to admit it.
Oh. You're having to go at me.
Everyone.
Feel under attack.
Everyone.
Holy God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I the
I
fact
have
that
others. I have others too.
go on. While you're on the, like, my thoughts on VAR. Yeah. I thought if the lines weren't conclusive, why weren't they? is why I'm asking this question. But at the same time, I don't have a big thing about the goal going in because we looked so unlikely to score ourselves. So it's like, we
I'm not
always,
blaming the ref tonight.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think that is not
No, that's not the way to go.
that is
What,
an excuse.
what's
That's
your
not the
other,
reason the US didn't score. My other thing, I mean, now we're kind of going a little deeper now, but like after the friendlies, after the first game, after the second game, kind of had some questions here and there about Chris Richards and some of like his sort of lackadaisical
okay.
play, some of his error proneness.
Uh,
I mean, what were we like 3 minutes in when he makes like another completely lazy, sloppy back pass to the keeper that was nearly taken in and
Yeah.
almost immediately put the US down? Like, what's going on?
He's so casual.
How many times does this have to happen? And it picks up a yellow. So had we advanced, he'd be missing the next match. Um, yeah, I don't know. He's not the finished article. Like I like that he made some real strides at Crystal Palace, but and look, it's not like a ton of goals have been scored against the US. Um, it's at the other end of the field that our problems primarily lie, but like he's not he's not the finished article yet. I mean, my God, JJ. Again, I'll go back to some of the MLS stuff, but if every single thing was the same about Chris Richards in some of these games that we saw, except it was Walker Zimmerman doing them. Oh my God. Or Aaron Long, God forbid.
Oh,
Jesus. The outrage, JJ.
yeah, you're right. You're right. I do agree with
And
that.
like Richards should start. Like there's clearly a player there. We saw it at Crystal Palace, the way he developed, not just as a defender, but a passer. Like he could step into midfield almost
Yeah.
like a John Stones kind of role. I think he showed a little bit of that this season at Crystal Palace. So like there's a hugely promising player there, but he's not the finished article, not yet. He's put the US in some shaky positions with some kind of sloppy play. Yeah. I don't know.
Thought Adams was good at times tonight.
Yeah.
I
I
like that
agree.
thing he did in the 13th minute. Wins it, breaks from midfield, striding forward, flicks it out to Reina. And the cross goes in and the keeper gets it. Kind of how it goes.
Yeah. You mentioned Reina. I thought, especially in the second half, when you're looking for, okay, who are going to be the guys who kind of take responsibility here, who understand gravity of this moment and try to step up and do something about it. Pulisic is always that guy. You know me. I think I just like there's some athletes in my life that I just have a blind spot for. Iverson could do no wrong. Pulisic is starting to reach that level for me. Like I just think really highly of the guy. Um,
Oh,
but I thought that Gio Reyna showed some of those qualities in the second half. There was that one stretch where his pressure on the ball was just relentless, and then he had that. I mean, there was the kind of that really good sequence where he started. He had a great turn on possession, good ball into space for Anthony Robinson, and then didn't give up on the play. Came back after it looked like Uruguay had taken possession back. Then he wins a throw in. I mean, it seemed like he was somebody who kind of wanted to step up and sort of be one of the guys who was responsible for a comeback. But yeah, I mean, as was the
Plop,
case, it just didn't materialize.
Plop is trending because US soccer has got it trending.
Okay. I mean, look, Carlo Ancelotti, he's in Montana right now. All right.
Let's not let him leave.
Maybe he should be a candidate.
Let's get him on a petty crime.
We know I can tell you exactly where he is. I think it was 123 Main Street at what was the Sawmill Saloon. All right. We know he was there. We have visual evidence. All right. So if we're going to be doing this, let's just do it with all of them. They're all on. It's all on the table.
Can you imagine how high watching the US men's national team fail to score a goal? How high that would cause Ancelotti's eyebrow to go? It would literally join the rest of his thick head of hair.
But you are like you're the one who kind of really opened my eyes to this because of the situation the US are in with not having to go through qualifying. Like you were the one who said, I think Jurgen Klopp is going to take a job to play no games for 2 years. Like other than some some friendlies,
No, he's not gonna. He just isn't.
In a country across the sea from his family. Like this
after his promising his wife they're going to take some time after he lied to her when they finished at Dortmund. He was supposed to he was barely out of that job, 4 months?
Yeah.
5 months? And then he rocks up to Liverpool for nearly a decade. So he owes some people some time. He said he wants to be a fan again. The last thing he wants is this. Can I also make a request
Yeah.
with this side? I want Fox or whoever has got the coverage. It is Fox for the foreseeable anyway. Stop doing those like moody shots of them in their kit, like in a darkened room with the only thing behind them like being fiber optic lighting. And they fold their arms and they put their foot on a ball and, they pout or they grimace or they clap their hands together or they go, rawr. Stop that. Just stop it. It's foolishness. I despise it. It makes me cringe.
This
And
has become a real Festivus episode of Caught Offside. This is just now a full-on airing of grievances.
Yeah.
Why not?
I hate it, and I hate it because, do you know why I hate it the most? It's like then it'll be interspersed with like goals we scored against, St. Kitts and Nevis. Just
I
like,
know.
or the one goal we got against Iran. Like, no,
I won't tarnish that one. All right. That was a legitimately great moment.
let's build up a resume of big wins and then make a montage. Like, Jesus, Fox love their montages, and they're all the same. Victory not assured. Brotherhood guaranteed.
I think a montage is important.
And I don't want to hear about culture anymore. I don't want to hear about any of that stuff. I'm not done with these players, but I'm just done with this era of the team. Like, done with it.
Well, that is kind of these players.
No, but the Bearhalter era, though, everything that's gone with it, and also the way he never he would just coach speak, business speak.
Well, that's every manager. I'm not gonna fault him for that.
Is it? I don't know. Get Warnock in there.
Oh God.
Get Warnock in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, with regards to again, we are making some huge assumptions that Greg Berhalter is going to lose his job. I have no idea if that's true.
Carnage for the next 2 years. Then
we have no idea if that's true. But if we're going to have the who will the next manager be conversation, look, I right now I'll say I'm kind of laughing at all of you who are suggesting Klopp and Pep, and that's not to say the U.S. shouldn't try, but like if you're saying like if you think that that's the natural next step here, like I will be so happy to be wrong on this. I will be so happy to be made a fool of. I want all of you to throw this back at me. If the day that Pep gives his press conference behind the U.S. soccer badge, all right? Please throw this back in my face. I'll say a prayer tonight that it happens. But right now, I'm kind of laughing at all of you.
I think about
that guy can manage anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
he wants to come be the manager of a struggling U.S. soccer program.
I think his time is nearly up at Manchester City, and how do I phrase this? It's going to end in rancor.
You think?
From outside? Not with him and the board of Manchester City, not like that. But it's going to end in rancor because of the 115 charges. Whatever way that goes, that's tarnished his legacy, and particularly the treble. It's the least talked about treble you could possibly have. It's only been done twice, and
by an English team,
by an English team, and there's really only one treble that's talked about anymore. This seems to have been what he's dealing with, and there's a desire, I think, in him to take another job that won't be as superpowered or supercharged as Manchester City. I think he wants to go and do something somewhere else with a team that he cannot be accused of financial doping, because he's so aware of it now. The questions, the sarky comments. The man will die of sarcasm if he's not careful. Like, he constantly questions about the money. And in fairness to him, I think he's more than that. I do think he's more than the money as a coach. But for
whatever asterisks are put upon him for this era, he is pretty regularly referred to as the greatest manager of the Premier League era.
He is, Andrew. But I think that this last period under City has. Yeah, it's been difficult. I think it's been hard on him. I do think it has. It's from a number of angles. And so basically what I'm trying to get to is,
Jim Curtin will be our next manager.
Jim Curtin will be our next manager. It's not. Nobody's going to be sated by. No Pep figure is going to be sated by managing this US side, especially with no games of consequence and going into a tournament.
I'll pray to be wrong. Honestly,
I'm not sure we don't know what he'd be like. Like we said, this is a guy who is very
I'd love
much
to find out, but it ain't gonna
every
happen.
detail. You're not gonna have the time for that.
No.
Just
Yeah,
one
I
at a
don't think
time.
international management is for him. I could
No.
see it with Mourinho.
I can see him living in the United States, by the way.
I could see that, but
I
more
can't
than
see him
likely, yeah.
managing in the United States is a different thing.
I don't know. I don't know where this goes from here. I really don't.
What do we do now?
The next few days should be, well, I mean, look, we now look, it sucks that this is over. Like, we spent a long time kind of getting pumped about this tournament, and man, what a dud it was. Now though, like, this wasn't the real deal. Like, now we've got a World Cup to start thinking about. So this is only the beginning of this kind of journey still for the US. We got 2 years to really build towards something. And I think the realizations and all that, they all started tonight. At least, for some people.
The only thing more irritating right now than trying to watch the US put together a coherent attack and create a chance is the fact that a mosquito has got into my sock and has bit me on the side of my foot. It's the worst.
Yeah,
he's done a number on me. I was in the New York Times for mosquito bites. I made the New York Times. I was interviewed by the New York Times in 2000.
What a wildly slow news day.
Shut up.
That must have been.
You've never been in the New York Times ever. Well, what would you be in it for?
True.
Man's strange lump makes evening wear difficult.
Have I been I probably haven't been in the New York Times, but good for you. I'm very proud of you. JJ, we should probably get out, but while we're here, I will.
This is the short shrift the Euros are going to get.
You want to wait till Wednesday? We can wait.
Can we wait till Wednesday?
Yeah,
tomorrow's Tuesday. We can do it, right?
I'll just
we'll make mention. Let's make mention.
I just want to say 2 things.
Okay.
I feel sick for Jan Vertonghen, and his 1,000-yard stare after that game was devastating.
He did not deserve that. 17 years of service to the Belgian national team. It shouldn't have come to an end, or the most likely end like that. It shouldn't have.
And like, by the way,
it's a desperate game of football, though.
Yeah, I know. And it makes me feel a little bit better about the US. That, like, France are the best team in the world. They've scored 3 goals in 4 games, 2 own goals and a penalty. Like, so this isn't easy for anyone.
And then the madness of Tedesco playing Kevin De Bruyne as some kind of CDM or center midfielder, like and then changing it and then realizing, oh, actually, it's more effective that way. Now, it should be said that, France had 19 shots. How many of them were top quality? They had 2 on target, and Belgium had 5 and 2 on target. Like, it was an enthralling game that you were hoping was going to extra time, because it was just fascinating. But it wasn't good. Like, no. It wasn't a good game by any stretch of the imagination, and neither was Slovenia and Portugal. To be perfectly honest with you.
No, but that was not short on drama.
I think Ronaldo embarrassed himself.
Of course you do. Why? Because he was bawling? Well, first
I
don't think I've ever seen that.
I've never
quite
seen
to that extent of somebody
just like absolutely, but the frustration of him in the game, like if you ever wanted like to be backed up in what you've said, what I said about him and the way he limits the side, like how many crosses did he put in that he can't get close to? He had, those free kicks. I mean, they were better than we've seen in that they were kind of close to the goal. Then he takes one from, see the one he took wide on the left? Oh my God, Andrew. And then shanks it wide. Like, he wouldn't let anyone do anything. And then they get a penalty, which is Diego Jota bundling into the box. It's not a penalty. It just isn't. And Oblak saves it. And that is just the cherry on the icing of the cake. No, in fairness to him, he buried his penalty in the penalty kicks. Diogo Costa was absolutely brilliant.
It's the performance of the tournament so far.
Although I would say the penalties were like,
maybe
if ever there was penalties at the right height, like Slovenia had nothing. in that regard in terms of penalties. But Portugal go on. Portugal go on, and they are fascinating, absolutely fascinating, because Martinez has a decision to make. He really needs to drop Ronaldo. He has to drop Ronaldo.
It's not going to happen.
Will not do it.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, he won't do it. So
this is the team.
Yeah.
So,
I thought France Portugal could be a rough watch. Fascinating, but a rough watch.
I'm here at this point. With these tournaments, like I'm no longer here for the great football. When I watch Spain, Germany, then sure. But the rest of this, I'm here for the drama. I think like I kind of know at this point what we're getting with some of the national team stuff. This is not gorgeous football, but the drama cannot be replicated on any level. Champions League, Premier League, no. I don't care. Bring me your best club soccer. To me, the drama of this stuff. I mean, Ronaldo's not breaking out into tears in club play. Maybe somebody will send me a screenshot of him crying during a game. I don't know. But like this stuff is just, I don't know. I love this stuff. Hook this stuff directly into my veins. I cannot get enough of it. You and I were kind of talking about it a little bit the other day. Like, again, when club football rolls around, don't worry, we'll be ready and extremely excited. I might even sing a song about it, JJ. But like, but there is something as we
very long song
as we go deeper and deeper into an era of, Qatari money and Saudi money and transfer windows that just like, PSR violations. Like, I'm not going to say I'm jaded by it because I still love it enough that I can get past it. But there is something that like international play, these national teams and these international tournaments. Yeah, FIFA is kind of the worst and corrupt and all that. But when you actually talk about the games and the tournaments, there is a purity to it that is removed of all that transfer window deadline stuff and money. Like this is like these players, they're not doing this for a paycheck. Like maybe, endorsement deal, stuff like that. But like their millions are not coming through these tournaments. The media scrutiny, the fan scrutiny is oppressive to a lot of these guys on some of these high profile national teams. They're just doing it because they love being a part of these teams, their country, their teammates who came up through the systems with them that they have known since they were little kids. Like there is something really cool about how much these guys effing care about these tournaments that oftentimes don't have like a whole lot of reward behind it.
I think, I've said this before. I think in a world where nationalism is generally bad and not a good quality, this is the good nationalism. Now, on occasion, you'll have Albania and Serbia crossing those lines completely with singing about genocide. But apart from that, I totally agree with you.
There's nothing wrong with being proud of your country.
A pride in one's country and the kind of football nationalism we see at these games, I think is great. But like we can't be blind to the fact there's a darker nationalism.
Of course,
sweeping Germany and France and places like that.
Yeah.
So it's look, I love this. I'm in the middle of. Do you know what? You're right though. If ever we could leave 2 games and punt them to Wednesday, we can absolutely do that with these and enjoy tomorrow's games and prepare to talk about them.
We will be back on Wednesday. I believe we'll have a conversation that's lined up with Hercules Gomez, which I can't wait for to talk to him about where the U.S. goes from here. And I know we mentioned his Mexico tweet. Both things I can't wait to talk to him about. That'll be great. And then obviously the Euro conversation will continue, Copa America conversation will continue, and the transfer window conversations will continue as well. JJ, this was a podcast.
It was a podcast, but I'm not letting you out. There is a silver lining here. The response to our Caught Offside Plus has been through the roof.
That is true.
It's been absolutely fantastic. Guys, the link is right there. It's where you need it to be in our bio.
Show notes
everywhere. It's caughtoffside.supercast.com. The response has been unbelievable, and we want you, as many of you who can do it, just join us as we bring you that extra stuff that we've always wanted to, and this is the best framework to do it. So, but to those who have already signed up in your droves, thank you so much. It got me a bit emotional today as my phone was popping off with subscribers. Just like I got a bit Sally Field, and I proclaimed to my girlfriend, they like me. They really like me. That's not strictly true. I think they like us and they like the show. I would never go as far as to say that they like me. But thank you so much to everyone.
It's pretty
Fantastic. And
cool.
let's keep going and make this thing even more sustainable.
And it seems I've gotten not a ton, but a few messages where I think the audio gift is landing well with some of the people who have listened to it. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I don't want to step all over that.
If
But
it's not when you do subscribe, if you're looking for it, if it's not immediately visible to you, go back to in your new premium feed. Go back to I think it's June 24th. You should see a podcast there called like Welcome Episode, something like that. And so, if you have a hard time finding it, just tweet me at @agunling or hit us up. There's so many ways to get us, but yeah, thank you to everybody who signed up already.
the
It's
absolute
incredible
best.
response. Yeah, we'll be back midweek. Wednesday is what we're aiming for. We'll talk hopefully to Herc, and we'll talk about some Euro stuff. And yeah, we'll kind of sit with this one for the next couple days, and then on Wednesday we'll decide if our responses tonight were overly emotional or appropriate. I'm not. I don't think that anything I said was overly emotional. I think I this is how I feel, and I don't see that changing 2 days from now, or 2 weeks from now, or 2 months from now. But we're entering a really interesting period of U.S. soccer history here, as we see what the response is from not just fans or media, but U.S. soccer as a federation and these players who love this manager. Let's see where this all goes from here.
Andrew,
JJ,
I think we're at our best
I got
in these dark moments.
yeah, maybe that's sad. I'd rather be at our best in good times, but you know, whatever it needs to be, we'll serve the people in those moments. JJ, I got nothing. I got nothing else. Hey, to you, I say,
Check you later, fun boy.
I'll see you.
Take care.